Motormouth Jenkins here, welcoming you to our brand new YouTube channel. Hope that you'll come back and see every segment each and every week, and I will share preventative maintenance tips and regularly scheduled maintenance tips for your car. So whether you know a little bit about your car or absolutely nothing, this is the channel just for you, where I share over 35 years of experience as a qualified and licensed service technician with truck and coach, light truck and passenger vehicles. Come back and visit us and tell your friends, and we'll see you each and every week right here in the Car Connection Workshop on YouTube. Well, here we are back in the shop this morning, at the Car Connection Workshop, that is. Your host, Niall Motormouth Jenkins, in the driver's seat. Well, the engine is in, and the compressor's running, because it's the shop, just so you know. Yeah, it's not a hospital. Well, it kind of is. It's a hospital for sick Jeeps. Well, the motor's in, and we got the transmission bolts in. They just need to be tightened down, and it was a bit of a challenge because you've got to get the motor ins at the right angle, and as you see it, that is the angle we needed to achieve in order to line up the splines on the clutch. You don't go. Two things, fellas, and I see it all the time. When you're putting a motor in, don't think you're going to do it in 15 minutes, especially if you're having to navigate getting the input shaft on the transmission splined into the clutch and not tear out the fingers on the pressure plate or bend them. You got to take it nice and easy coming in and get the angle. And we didn't video it because I was back and forth all the time. You know, when I'm if I had a partner to work with that I've done motors with, I would have asked him to come and join us, but he was working. And that way I got one guy on one side. He knows what to look for, and I'm looking at my side, and we can make sure that we're going in square and you're not forcing it. If you have to force it and wiggle it back and forth, you're going to do some damage to the brand new clutch on there. And at the end of the day, when you get this all back together and fire it up, chances are you're going to have a clutch problem. Now you got to pull it all back out. So you got to make sure you're properly aligned. And it took quite a bit of a challenge to get this angle just right. And I didn't want to take the engine brackets off and everything. I wanted to just cradle it in and line it up and then bring it down. So I jacked the transmission up, which is what I'm used to. Bring the transmission up as far as you can go to the top of the firewall, cut out. That way you have more clearance for your motor mounts. If you have the transmission down, then your chances are your motor mounts are going to be a big challenge. They're going to be in the way. They're going to be hitting the front of the ear, the mount on the frame, before you even get close to the transmission. But anyways, it was some canoodling, but we got it done. We lined it up, and it started to slide in, because you also need, somebody's got to go underneath with gloves on and grab the flywheel and roll it to make sure that as soon as I rolled it about 2/3, the splines lined up and it dropped back on its own. So I knew we were in, and now all that means is we need to watch our pitch, where our transmission is, where the back of our engine is, because if you're off a little bit, because what we have to do last but not least is that front of that input shaft has to go into the pilot bearing. So you don't want to be the shaft hitting here or here. You want to be gentle so that it just slides in, and then the nose of the input shaft goes right into the pilot bearing. So it's a little trickier when you're doing a manual transmission than it is an automatic. An automatic, they're a breeze. But whether it's a light truck, commercial vehicle that's a stick, or a car that's a stick, it's tight, and you got to take your time. So that's the reason we didn't videotape it, because I was on this side, that side, underneath, and you just got to keep moving it in to get it into place. And once it fell into place, the motor mounts lined up and we're in good shape. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our cable off, undo it from the block on both sides, and tighten up our engine mounts. I've got the bolts lined up, and that's another thing is when you're tightening the bolts up on the bell housing to the engine block, don't just tighten one side down on the transmission. Get all the bolts in all the way around and put them, as many of them in, finger tight as you can. Then, once you see the back of your the transmission bell housing, we'll say this, transmission bell housing and the back of the block, when they're sandwiched and I can't see a gap there, then I know I can start tightening. But I always tighten top to the middle, jump back and forth. So picture a circle, which a bell housing pretty much is. Go here, go there, go there, go there, go there, and then wrap it up. So on here there's, we got 2, 4, 6, we have 8 bolts. And I'll tell you, they're big ones too. You'd think we were holding up a freaking jumbo jet motor in here, but it's only a 2.5. But anyways, nevertheless, so we're going to take the cable off. We'll get the engine mounts tightened. I got 2 bolts here at the back of the transmission. I'm just going to snug them up for the moment. I got the transmission. It's in there and it's square and it's right up tight against the back of the block. I can see that right here. And I got the bolts all in by hand last night. And the scatter shield is on, and it's got to be mounted. So we got a few things we are gonna share with you. You're gonna see how I do it. On the motor mounts, again, is the same as the bell housing bolts. Make sure you got all the bolts in for both sides of the engine. So we got a bolt from the top and a nut from the bottom, and the same on the passenger side. So I got them all lubed and installed, so that way I know the motor's not jiggled one way or the other. You fasten that side and you come over here and you can't get the bolts on. So always put the bolts in by hand, lube them up as well. I like to use, I'm really fond of this. You can use anti-seize. I really like this product here. It doesn't wash out. And the traveling grease, somehow, it even gets on the bottom of my feet, and I've had work boots on. How does that happen? It gets everywhere. But I really like this stuff. And no, they don't sponsor the show. It's just I love products that work and work for me and that I've used for a long time. So what I'm going to do right now is I want to get these 2 top transmission bolts fastened. So, and on this particular beast, you need the stubby wrench because it's tight. You can use a very long extension and come up the back of the bell housing. So I mean, whatever works for you, just do it. That's what I say for folks. So I think I need 17. So we go to the wrench box. Wrong drawer. Right here. Get my stubby. So I believe they're 17s, not 18s. So there are a bunch of 18s. This Jeep is crazy because you're flipping wrenches and sockets all the time. Some stuff is metric, some stuff is standard. And it's enough to drive you bonkers. Yeah, it is 18. Well, how be that? Let's put this back. Your tools, my father, you said many years ago, your tools are what earn you your living. Treat them well. Don't have them all scattered all over the shop. And I would say that to you fellas is clean up as you go. Run a clean shop. We had a ton of stuff out here yesterday getting this motor in. And at the end of the day, I dismantled the engine crane, put the jack stands away, the whole 9 yards. So I'm just going to snug this up. That's it. Then I'm going to come over to the other side and do the other top bolt. And I will give those a really super duper. Hey, how you doing? I've seen you before. Did you bring any snacks? This one is even worse to get your hand in there. And I have small hands. But like I said, you can sneak up from the back of the bell housing, so come up on an angle with a really long extension and a wobble, and you could probably catch it. But you know what? I can get in here with this and tighten these right down. So, and they were almost all the way down last night before I called it a night. And then I was just kind of looking at stuff, and then I started putting it together. And I'm going, I could have this running by midnight. Then I could hear Skippy going, no, we need to show them that. Back off, leave it alone. Step away from the Jeep. So give these a good snug. Then I will come back to them last but not least after I've tightened the other ones down below. And again, they're in, just they're finger tight. I put the alternator in last night and did a little bit of remodeling on the wiring routing on that. I didn't like it. Wires pulling on wires, and I want to talk about that a little bit too right now, if you don't mind. Is see this harness here? See the white zip ties that start right there, here, and here? That is what I do when I'm doing a motor, is I get everything tied up and out of the way, so that when you're dropping the motor in, you're not ripping a wiring harness. I see that happen so many times. Stuff is butchered after the motor, putting the motor in. So that wiring harness, when I cut off those zip ties, that harness will go over that to that side. So everything that's on that harness belongs on the driver's side. And then I also just tuck stuff up here, so this will come out, and I know exactly where all that stuff goes. So here's how I start my assembly. I always start on my passenger side. I don't know why that is, but I do. I start on the passenger side. I want to start where the ignition is most of the time, especially on the 4 cylinders where the distributor is on the right side of the motor. So that's where I'm going through wiring harness. I'm making sure my connections are all here, and I do stuff like this. See this here? I bolted it together when I took the motor out, because I know this is ground. This one is rotted off the frame, so I'll make a new harness. The bolt for that ground wire goes on is on the frame right here, and it's done. So this bolt will go in where the coil is bolted to the block, and notice it's a bolt with a stud. So I have to take the bolt I put in there, because I wanted the coil on when the engine went in, because it's a little tight back here. So I just have to pull the one bolt out at the front of the coil bracket. I'll take this bolt apart now and clean that up and make a new ground, pull the bolt out of the frame, make a good clean ground. And why am I spending time on that? Guys, take the time to clean the ground wires. Clean them. Clean all the connections, because you know what? They're going to be a headache afterwards. So if you do it now, so I'm going to take this nut off. I'm going to make another ground lead. I'm not even going to waste my time on this, because there's more of this ground strap that's rotten. So I'll make a heavy duty ground, and I have 2 more grounds back here. And I zip tied them together, if you want to look. See, there's my zip tie when I took the motor out. So they have to be cleaned, and they have to also go on the opposite bolt that's holding the coil on. So I'll do one side and then the other. And then I'm going to come up here. I got a ground strap here. See it? It's all rusted. And that's going to go to one of these head bolts on that side, and I'm going to put a new eyelet on there. After I clean that up, it doesn't look good, I'll make a new eyelet, put a new eyelet on there. And I don't just crimp, I solder, because I don't want any ground circuit issues. When I'm done, I don't want to be chasing ground circuit issues. That's why I take the time. Zip tie the grounds together. Put a bolt through the other grounds. Try and put them all together so that when you if it's this has been months coming because it took a few months to find a motor, and then I had to go through the whole thing and make sure we're putting a good power plant in, because I only want to do this one time and then look after it, and I will. So along the way, anything that looks questionable, just fix it. You know, I hate the saying, for now. Oh, we'll just do this for now. You ain't never coming back to it. I know that. So I went through the wiring on the alternator. That's all clean. And as I'm putting plugs on, fellers, I clean them. Coming to the other side now. Switcheroonie. I use this on all my connections. So I'll just grab a plug as an example, and I just take some of this, and this will save you water issues getting into the electronics down the road. You won't experience that. That's all you got to do. You don't need to put a 1/4-inch bead, 3/8 bead of it on there. When that plug goes together, it's watertight. No headaches. So when you take the time to do that, so all these plugs will get a little bit of the dielectric grease on there. Every single one. And all the ones hanging there. So every plug I've removed will be cleaned. I clean the end of it. Make sure it's clean. And apply the dielectric grease. Eliminate headaches down the road and before they even get a chance to manifest. That's what I do. Because like I say, do it right, do it once, do it well. Done. Period. Okay, so let's get this apparatus off, and then we can move towards tighten down the engine mounts, and then we'll leave it at that because the rest of the stage is everything is ready. See how I do my work? I don't have to go hunting for the bolts that hold the power steering on and the bracket that goes here. So there's a bracket that has a idler pulley on it, and then your power steering goes to these bolts. So these 3 bolts will go through that bracket, and that's your slider to adjust your belt. So I've got everything in position, so I don't need to go hunting for stuff. And all the bolts, take the time, guys. Go to your wire wheel with a handful of bolts. Just like, see how I'm taking that out by hand? These bolts were miserably filthy. And so I take the time to clean the bolts so that what? I can get them started by hand. And then I will put some of that dielectric grease down the threads so that, you know what? In the future, I can get this stuff off like no tomorrow. So again, put the bolts in where they belong if you can do so. But make sure you tag and bag. Just show them that container down there by the starter motors. You see what it says? Valve cover. So every fastener, plastic clip, hold down, dewey thingy, majig is in that container that came off around the valve cover. So what does that tell me? I need that container when I put all the plugs in to get the little do thingies. Yeah, we'll work with that. Do thingies that are going to hold the harness and the plugs in position so they're not rubbing. And I can't show you that, but I would like to show you. Oh, you got to see this, because this is a prime example of somebody being in this vehicle working on something and just not paying attention to make sure stuff goes back where it freaking belongs. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe if you come in from this side, Skippy, you got to show them this, because this is what I'm talking about. Not putting stuff back properly so it's out of harm's way. See this plug in my hand? Can you see that? It is melted to a blob. See it? I had to cut it. Do you know what this is for? This is the heated gas organizer. Heated exhaust gas organizer. Oxygen sensor. Yeah, it's supposed to be a plug that separates. Somebody didn't fasten it up, and the thing cooked, being hanging around the manifold, the exhaust manifold, hot exhaust. So now, to fix this, I need to go to the wreckers to get the plug that's going to go on the wiring, which is up here. Here's the wiring. I had to cut it off. So this is my heated exhaust gas organizer, my oxygen sensor wiring. You can't just buy the plug for the harness. You got to buy a harness, an engine bay harness. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm spending some time on the details here. And for those of you who get a little ornery about me doing that, then do the dang job right, is what I'm saying. This is backyard garbage. Do the job right. Fasten stuff up. Put it where it belongs. Put clips and zip ties and fasteners to hold things away from exhaust, from getting chewed up onto something. But do the job right. And that's the stuff I run into. Like even this wasn't attached. You know where it's supposed to go? It's supposed to go there, but it won't. For whatever reason, I got to figure that out. It should be able to poke into this hole here with this barb, but it won't. So I got to figure out why it won't, because that's where it needs to go. It should be up here. And what I do with these is when I find its home, I put a blob of RTV on here, then I push it in its hole. It does two things. It's going to lock it in that hole, and it's also going to seal that hole so no water gets into the cab. So that's what I'm talking about when I say just do the dang job right and put stuff back, and don't just leave it laying there, because that oxygen sensor thing, that's a bit of a headache. I got to go all the way to a wrecking yard, find a Jeep from 97 to 2006, and I got to cut some wiring harness out so that I can fix that mess. Because somebody else prior to, I think somebody did a clutch at one time, and they just decided to leave it hanging just like this. Just leave it hanging. That's good. What the heck? It's, you know, the saying is, oh, I'll deal with that later. No, you don't. I see sloppy workmanship after a motor's been put in. I'll just share this with you before we sign off. Is a pickup truck came to me, and it went out to the res, out towards Caledonia. Somebody put a motor in this really nice F-250. Then I get a phone call through a friend of mine who has a rust proofing center. I got a couple of clients here. They got this truck. Some guys on the res put an engine in there, and it won't even run. The truck is useless. So they towed it over to me. Long story short, I had to take the whole stinking motor back out. There was stuff busted everywhere. They took a sledgehammer to the firewall here and pounded the firewall in to try and get the engine in. It was a nightmare. And at the end of the day, the bill was astronomical. Did they save any money? No. They allowed some dummies to work on that truck and totally destroyed it. Transmission linkage. Everywhere I looked was a mess. So leave it to the pros. If you don't know how to change a motor and you need to have the motor changed, you're investing in another motor, have somebody who cares to do the job for you so that you don't have a vehicle that's nothing but a miserable comeback headache for months ahead. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, follow us, leave a comment. It doesn't matter to me whether you leave a good comment or a bad comment or just a comment. It's fine by me because it just boosts the Google Analytics anyway. So thank you for that. And so that you don't miss the next video, click the notification bell so you're notified when we drop another video into our YouTube channel. And we usually drop 3 a week, 2 on Tuesdays, 1 on Friday. And we've kept that going. So Thanks for watching, and follow us on Facebook, Niall Motormouth Jenkins, and we'll see you in the next one. Well, thank you for stopping by the Car Connection Workshop right here on YouTube. Don't forget to come back and join us for another segment. So like, share, tag, and follow, and ding that bell so that you don't miss a single edition of Car Connection. So till next time, keep it under 100 and put the coffee on, because we're coming to your house.